What's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to Catching Up with Kat. My name is Kat Walsh, and today is just going to be a solo video of me. I wanted to share some of my fun stories from the time I moved to Florida and do some more Q&As. So excuse my voice. I know I sound a little bit nasally. I have a little bit of allergies, maybe sinus infection. I don't know. And it's just been hanging around for a few weeks. So sorry I missed last week. I had a last minute cancellation, so just decided not to go for the week. But thank you for sticking around and tuning into this episode. I'm just going to hop right in. For those of you who don't know, I did move to Florida a couple of months after I graduated high school. I just kind of had the mindset of, I thought that moving to a new place would kind of solve all my problems, and was being a dumb teenager. So I graduated in June, whatever it was, of 2015. I was a shithead teenager, let me tell you. I was crazy. So like throughout high school, big into partying, sneaking out of the house, doing drugs, all stuff like that. And finally, when I graduated high school, I got pretty heavy into the car scene. So I totaled my first car I ever got, which was on our last podcast. We talked about that crazy story. And then with the insurance money and some other money from that car, I picked up a 350Z, a Nissan 350Z. So, what a mistake. We drove a couple hours to pick this thing up. I went with this guy, Brandon, and it had a rebuilt title. So that's always kind of, hit or miss. And all these 350Zs, people are usually just drifting them, right? So I buy this 350Z, love the car, but the frame was tweaked. I found out the frame was tweaked, and it was just, a big headache. So I had that car. And a couple of months went by. I'm like, I'm going to move to Florida. I feel like a lot of people do that. People are like, moving to a new place, getting a fresh start will fix all my problems, and just think that all around that'll be better. But it's seriously not the solution. I had a wonderful experience going to Florida after some time passed. But if you're having that mindset of let's just pick up and go and start fresh and whatever, all your problems will come with you. And that's really inner work that you have to do within yourself. So jumping back, I had to get rid of my 350Z. Once I decided on going to Florida, I'm like, I can't bring this car. Like, I can't hardly fit wheels and tires in this thing to go get some new ones put on, let alone like pack up my stuff in it. So I sold the car, and December of 2015, I was like, all right, let's do this. And I bought a one-way trip ticket down to Florida. I packed up 2 suitcases, and I was off. And I met this guy through the car scene that I met his friend, and it was strictly friends. But he was also moving down to Florida from Ohio. So I'm like, we can be roommates, that would be good. So he already had moved down a couple months prior, and then I was like, okay, I'll plan on coming in December. So December rolls around, and I was super happy because December here, it's winter, it's cold, whatever. Florida in December, it can get a little chilly, but it's still usually pretty nice. So I was super happy about that. Flew in, got picked up from the airport by Logan was his name, and yeah, that just started the journey. We had this apartment. It was right outside of Clearwater. I think it was Pinellas Park. I can't exactly remember where that one was. My memory's a little foggy. But we had this apartment, and like I said, it was always just strictly friends, but that was, it became a rocky road. And so I get down there. I had no means of transportation. So that's when I went ahead and I bought my first motorcycle. I bought this, I think it was a 2012, something like that, 2010 or 2012 Kawasaki Ninja 250, this little red 250. And that's like really what I kind of like just hopped on and It was my first bike. I learned how to ride prior, but I never really rode anything for a long period of time. So I met up with these people at these nice apartments, gave them, I think it was like $1,200 or something like that. And I learned how to ride long term. And hold on, I forgot my do not disturb. And I hopped on the bike, and that was my means of transportation, was this little 250. And it was slow as dirt. It really was, but it got me around. And if you know Florida, you know that a motorcycle is not ideal to be your only transportation because it rains quite often there. But it was December, so it wasn't horrible. So December, and then I started working a job down there. I got a job at a restaurant right on the beach in Clearwater. I was working there, and things kind of just started going downhill with my roommate. Like, he'd kind of get weird here and there, trying to, make a move, and I'm like, no, bud, like, strictly friends. And then I come to learn that he had a drug problem, and I'm like, oh, wonderful, but I didn't really like think anything of it because I'm like, people go through their stuff, whatever. And also, I was young and dumb at the time and did not have a bank account, so all of my money was cash. And I kept majority of that at the apartment because I didn't want to walk around with a whole bunch of cash on me. So one day I get back to the apartment and I like go to get some of my money or whatever, and I was the only one home, and all my cash was gone. All of it. Oh wait, let me backtrack. So yeah, I just skipped a lot. So I bought the bike, rode around for a couple of weeks, met some great people in the motorcycle scene down there. Like, I probably met thousands of people down there in the short period of time I was there, just because the riding scene is so big. The weather's so nice. Like, people are riding everywhere there. So rode around. I was on a group ride with a couple of my friends at night, and I had one of those tinted visors on my helmet. And we were going around these twisties in the dark with no street signs with my tinted visor on my 250, and I wrecked the bike. I just slid right off the road into the grass, and thankfully it was just grass. And I just, I didn't get too hurt. I just got banged up here and there, a couple bruises and scrapes, but it was nothing major. I got on the bike and I rode home. And then I was like, screw this. I need something bigger. So shortly after that, I sold the bike, and that's when I had even more money stashed away. So the one day I get home, all that money from the bike, all my other money, it was gone. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? Like, I was like a mess calling this kid, like, where's my money? Where are you? Why did you steal from me? Why did you do this? Blah, blah, blah. And like, drugs get the best of people. They really do. So looking back, like, I just packed up my stuff. I was like, I need to find somewhere to live. I didn't know anyone down in Florida. Like, I met people that rode like a couple days ago, but I didn't have any family. I didn't have any close friends, anything like that. So I was startled. I was probably calling my family back up here in Ohio, like freaking out, like, what do I do? I've only been here for like a month or two, maybe just a month, and this is already happening. And I think I joined some riding pages, like on Facebook. They have like Bay Area Riders. That's where all the motorcycle riders post and have groups and meetups and whatever. And I think I was like talking about needing a place to stay or a place to live short term. And that's when I met my other two roommates. And thankfully, they were able to let me stay at their place. It was just a little 1-bedroom apartment, and that was chaos as well. I got this job. I had no transportation. I got this job at this car wash right down the road, so I literally would walk to work. And it was really hard for the first couple of months living in Florida. I'm like, I just kept my head down, went to work, walked to work every day, would scrape by. Like, sometimes I was so broke because all my money got stolen. Like, I hardly ate anything for days. It really was a struggle, but I'm grateful for the people that took me in for that short while. And then I actually started to like casually date one of them. And it's so funny. I started casually like going out with one of them that I was living with. And then I forget how it came about. And then we're like, no, we're not going to do this, whatever. And then he starts dating this other girl who, like, me and this other girl got into contact somehow at Facebook, or she came over to the apartment, something like that. And we just became friends and kind of bonded over this dude who was like cheating or just being shitty to both of us or her. I can't exactly remember what it was, but that became my best friend, Andrea. Love you, girl, if you're watching this. And Andrea and I kind of teamed up and kind of made a game plan on where we were going to go next. I then bought my second motorcycle, which was a 2005 Gixxer 600. What a fucking nightmare. Let me tell you. I had no money. I had no credit because I was freshly 18 and no one taught me anything about credit. So I went to this dealership and they see this young girl who like they could just take advantage of just because they know that I was in a tough spot. So they sold me this fucking clapped out Gixxer, and man, what a lesson. I went through like 5 stators and rectifiers on that bike, but it got me around. It got the job done. So I got that bike. Andrea and I decided, like, let's get up out of here. She needed a place to live as well. And then we met Josh, who is still a friend of mine to this day. I love Josh very much. I'm so happy to see him thriving with his little family and doing so well. I actually just saw him when I was in Florida last time. But I think it was through another Facebook post where we met Josh. And he also rides motorcycles. And he had a house. I think it was like Largo, Clearwater. And it's like, yeah, like I have a house. I have 2 spare bedrooms. Let's do it. So it was Josh, Frankie. Frankie lived in the closet. We called him Harry Potter because his room was literally a closet. And Andrea had her room next to my room. And it worked out really well. And throughout all of this, just going out on the bikes, riding, meeting hundreds, thousands of people like at bike nights. People were just so like nice, and welcoming. And I don't know, it was great. I met a lot of really great people and made a lot of long-term friendships. So I think once I moved into this house with Josh and Frankie and Andrea, that's when I really like started to enjoy my time in Florida. I had my bike, I had my friends, I had a solid place to live, and we also had a pit bull named Moose, who is Josh's dog. And Moose is super awesome. What a great dog. And we had such a cute little yard. We'd just hang out in the back patio. We'd throw some parties or just go out. And it was just awesome, like those people became my family. And I'm super grateful for Josh for taking us in when we were going through a rough patch. And looking back to see how much I've grown and evolved since then is just absolutely insane to me. But yeah, we lived there. I started working at a strip club down there, Angels Nude, which most of the clubs in Florida are nude. So I worked down there, made some good money. So I would work at nights, and then I was able to enjoy my days, go to the beach, make friends. And it was really just like a long vacation, Florida was really cool. Wonderful people. But also going from like Clearwater to Tampa, because Clearwater is basically where I lived, and the traffic can get crazy, and that's why a lot of people like bikes, because they can just kind of lane split and cut traffic or whatever. But that brings me to the other topic of all the accidents that would happen. So once you're meeting all these great people on bikes, a lot of accidents start happening, and it gets devastating very, very quickly because of how populated it is and how crazy we were on the bikes and stuff like that. So in my short time of living there, I lost a great amount of people that I had met at the time, and become close with. And even since I moved back to Ohio, there's been a pretty crazy amount of people who have passed. So that is sad, but on the flip side, you make a lot of wonderful, wonderful connections. And Florida weather is always so beautiful, and just saw a lot of really great places. I came up with this topic through a friend of mine who suggested I talk about this, and he asked some questions, so I'm going to read those out. His first one was, why move? And like I said in the beginning, I think it was me being young, and I always rebelled against my parents growing up. I just didn't listen to anyone. I wanted to do my own thing. I'm going to learn myself the hard way if that's how it's going to be. So I guess I just wanted a change, I wanted to see if I could do it. And I did. And I was proud of myself, and it worked out. So I moved just for the experience. Hold on 1 minute. And I think a part of me thought that it would fix my problems, and that just wasn't the case. Another question, what was it like moving away? It was an experience. That's really the word I have for it. It was an experience, good and bad. In the beginning, it was super hard, and I thought about just leaving within the first month because it was super hard and a lot of bad stuff happened. But I'm really glad I stayed and made the relationships and connections that I did, because it turned out really wonderfully. And would I do it again? I would, because I'm also a firm believer that going through the hardships and going through all sorts of experiences is important to shape who you are, So I look at, okay, the guy stole all my money. He was struggling with addiction, He needed it more than I did. And I'm hardworking enough and motivated enough where I could get up and get that money back, no problem. So I would do it again, if I were to go back in time, But as far as moving sporadically now, it's kind of impossible with a child. So, and his last question was, why did I move home? So when I decided on moving home, I think both of my grandparents, when my grandmother on my mom's side and my grandpa on my dad's side, were kind of declining. I think if I'm remembering correctly. And I'm like, it's hard being away from family. I was still young. I was only 18, and I was like, I should just go home and be with my family. It might be easier for a little bit until I can get back on my feet. And I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was, but I decided to move home. We threw a rocking getaway party at Josh's house where I was living, and we filled the entire driveway up with bikes. And that was a really, really awesome time. I had people sleeping on the floor and people sleeping on the hammock, just like everyone came out to support me and show me so much love. And it was awesome. And I just remember my friend Francisco, who passed away. He was a really, really wonderful person. He fell asleep on the kitchen floor so that he could wake up and say goodbye to me. And I'm like, oh, what a freaking guy. I love that man so much. And there were just so many great memories. So I moved home because I think there were some complications with my family. I just wanted to be close to home again. I feel like Florida is definitely more of a vacation spot, somewhere to go short term, not so much live there. So that's why I came home. And I've just, planted my roots here and got comfortable here. All my family is here. And now I have my daughter. So Ohio isn't so bad, and that's my story about Florida. And it is absolutely wild to look back and see all the stuff I went through in such a short period of time and all the people I met in such a short period of time, which I could still call today and we'd be like, yo, I love you. Like, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. And like some people get distant, but that's life, Everyone has their families and their jobs, and we get that, but we can go a year without talking and then pop up. And like with Josh, I just went to Florida a couple weeks ago and I was like, yo, let's link up. We went to Busch Gardens. Our children got to meet. I got to meet his wonderful girlfriend, and it was just awesome. So it's cool to see how people evolve throughout time. And I'm super grateful for that experience. So I'm going to jump into some Q&As. And I always like doing the Q&As. In the last video I did by myself, I got a lot of really good feedback. So thank you guys all for all the comments and the great stuff that you've been telling me. It really does mean a lot. And I take it very seriously. So one of my Q&As, which will kind of be close to what I was just talking about, is, do you want to live in Ohio forever? And that's so hard to answer because as much as I hate the cold and the snow, like, I really don't mind Ohio that much, We don't have to worry about natural disasters like tornadoes or hurricanes or tsunamis or crazy things like that. So that's a big plus for me. Like I said, everything I know is here. My family, I'm just familiar with like the whole area. I have a lot of friends here. So I think Ohio is great. I think it might be good to have like a vacation home somewhere down south, like Tennessee or Carolinas or something like that down the road. But I don't know. Unless I fall in love and my man wants to live somewhere, we could talk about that. But I think for now, Ohio is my home. But I'd be open to moving again. I just don't think Florida. I don't think Florida's the forever, Definitely just a vacation spot. And then the next question was, what is the best part of motherhood? Which is completely off topic from everything I was just talking about, but that's what Q&As are all about. For me, the best part of motherhood is just like getting to watch your child grow through so many different phases and stages and seeing all the milestones. Like when she was a baby, the newborn years it's really sad, but the newborn years are like a blur to me. Like I had her and I went right back to work. So I didn't really get all that time to bond with her. I had to get up and I had to make the money. And it is pretty sad that I missed out on a lot of that, but I still tried breastfeeding as long as I could. I would pump and then give her breast milk that way. And so the best part of motherhood would just be to like really watch her become this amazing little woman. Like she'll be 3 next month and it's incredible. The attitude and the sass that comes out of this little girl's mouth. Like the other day I picked her up from daycare and as I'm walking in, her teacher was like, Bella's in daycare right now. I'm like, what? Why? What did she do? She's like, she called this kid a fuckboy. And I'm like, oh, no, she didn't. I'm like, okay. I tried so hard not to laugh because this woman was really serious. And I'm going to take that seriously. Like, I don't want my kid offending other kids, but like, where the hell did she learn that from? I obviously swear and have a potty mouth or whatever you want to call it, but I don't run around using the term fuckboy in front of my 2-year-old, So it's just really seeing her attitude and her becoming her own little self and watching her like go through different hobbies. Like she likes the motorcycles, she likes dancing and singing, and I just can't wait to see her as a teenager which I know is going to be really hard years, and she's probably going to hate mommy for a little while. But I'm just going to try and be the best that I can be for her, especially after me going through my crazy stage as a teenager, rebelling, doing all the drugs. Like, I feel like if I were to have a parent who was open about experiences with me and could kind of guide me in certain ways, it might have changed a little bit. But I'm glad things happened the way it did, so that I was able to go through all this stuff and experience all this stuff and gain all the knowledge from everything I went through. So I feel like now I have the tools to try and be the best mother I can, regardless if she goes through a rough patch or rebels or stuff like that. I just want to be there for her. I want to be the best mom I can, and I want her to be happy, healthy, and do what makes her happy. So I'd say that is definitely the best part of motherhood, just watching her grow and become her own little self. I had another one. What shaped you to the strong person you are today? And I think my stories I share sometimes about all the hardships, I think the hardships is really what shapes a person. Like, I don't want to focus too much on the bad and the negative and like the hard things we go through, but I think that's really what makes the most impact on a person. So going through a bunch of abuse, whether it be emotional, mental, physical, sexual, whatever it is, going through a lot of abuse, going through a lot of experiences, experimenting with a lot of drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, everything like that from such a young age. I feel like I grew up so much quicker than a lot of people because I started picking cigarettes out of those like places people throw away cigarettes. I started picking used cigarettes out of there when I was 15 years old from the Giant Eagle. And we would smoke those. It was foul. Looking back, I'm so like, ooh. But that's what we did. 15 years old. We started smoking cigarettes, drinking vodka, having parties in the basement, like going to God knows where. I'm not even kidding. We would end up in different states sometimes, just going to parties and wandering around, tripping on different drugs. Like, I am so grateful for all of that because by the time I graduated high school, which was when I was 17, I completely cut it all out. I have not touched a drug since. And it's going to stay that way because I got it all. In those 2 years, I went hard. Okay. And I'm super lucky that I didn't get in more trouble than I got in. And I still have my life. So I'm lucky for all that. And throughout it all, I went through some crazy stuff, went through some crazy relationships, went through all that. So I think all of that craziness, chaos, experiences really shaped me into who I am today. The last one I have is, what are my strengths? And I'd say one of my biggest strengths is how I care for people, and like how I give love to people. I think I can be a pretty powerful person for the people that I love and the people that are close to me. Just, going above and beyond, doing things for people, being there for people, supporting people, even if it's strangers. Like, I'm so big on the giving back thing. I just want to, doing right by others makes me feel good. So I'm definitely a people pleaser, I guess you could say. I want to make sure all the people around me are happy and taken care of. When it comes to partners, like relationships and stuff like that, I just want, the other person to be fulfilled and happy and everything like that. And it goes along with my daughter and my best friend and my family and stuff like that. It's just, I'd say my strengths are being super caring, loving, hardworking, and motivated, and just being a go-getter. So I think that all ties into some of the stuff I've been through. Like, being that way it's very easy to get taken advantage of. It's very easy for people to take advantage of kindness and givers and stuff like that. So going through certain stuff, I feel like now I am more cautious as to who I give that energy to. But like I said, I had to go through all that to be where I am today. So I'm always just being a little more cautious, moving slowly, I don't want to go through the super hardships anymore. I know life is not going to be rainbows and unicorns, but I've gotten out of a lot of stuff, and we want to stay that way. So I think that'll wrap it up today. I'm super excited. Today, my best friend is moving into her new house, which we got a month ago. And I'll be posting before and after pictures of this house. I have been absolutely slaving away for the last month trying to get this house done, and we're like 98% done. It just needs countertops, the sink put in, and the bathroom buttoned up, which should be done today. But man, that's been taking a lot of energy out of me, but it is so worth it to see the before and afters. So if you guys are interested in those, check out my social media because I'll be posting those in probably about a week. And I'm just super excited for what comes next. I'm going to be moving in with her and just being happy. It'll be me, her, Oliver, her dog, Callie, my cat, and Bella, my daughter. And everywhere we go, people think that we're lesbians and in a couple. So we're just going to go with that from now on. So if you're interested in seeing those pictures, check out my social media. Make sure to tune in next week. I will be bringing on a guest. And thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys later.